The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and help me welcome General Bolduc. General, welcome to the People's View.
Glad to be
And
here.
you're running for Senate on the federal government. And,
Yes, sir.
This is the whole state, and you're running around getting to know everybody.
I am, and it's such a huge pleasure to do that, right? I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I have a great campaign team. It's small, so it gets a lot done because it has to, right? We're very decentralized and we're flat in our communications, so we do things as pretty fast and decentralized, so everybody's empowered to act. Just the way I like to run it, and we have a great political director who has put county chairs in place, and we're building a network through the state so that we can respond to things very quickly and answer people's questions. And we're putting all that infrastructure in place, right? And it's really moving forward. But the best part of it is meeting people here in the Granite State, and certainly traveling around the Granite State. And even though I was born and raised here, there are so many things that I have not seen in this state and I was not aware of in this state that I'm becoming more and more aware of.
Well,
right?
that's good. You
So,
get to know the
it's
people
awesome.
that you're that are supporting you.
Yeah.
But you're retired from the military about a little over 2 years, and now you're also teaching up New England College.
Yes, sir.
What brought you to the last step into getting into the political situation?
Well, it's basically my exposure working and supporting veterans here in the state and in New England and across the country. My wife and I sit on 7 different boards for veterans across the country. We donate our time, we volunteer for this, and we basically are focused on supporting service members transitioning and veterans that are struggling after they transition. Post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, and destigmatizing and bringing greater understanding to those mental injuries so that we can better care for our service members. And of course, that has also a parallel or a collateral benefit in that it helps people understand post-traumatic stress and TBI for those that have experienced that are not in the military or who have not been in the military. And there's certainly plenty of things in life that cause post-traumatic stress that people experience.
Yeah.
And traumatic brain injury, injuries, sports, you name it, right? Anything that bangs that head around too much.
That's right.
So, and we're very honored to do that, and that has brought us into the view and into the purview of, people like, governors and senators and congressmen and women and other organizations. And as a result of doing that, I got asked a lot of times, hey, do you ever think about running for office? And so I got a few meetings scheduled, and, people talked to me about it, and my wife and I went around and we talked to more people about it, and we said, you know what? Public service is in our blood, both my wife and I. I mean, we spent 33 years doing it, supporting our service members and their families, and serving our country, and putting it on the line for people throughout the world, for freedom and justice. And so we said, you know what? If I can help one person and I can be of service to one person, then I'm going to try. And I got to tell you, I was disappointed with the level of constituent support I was getting, particularly from Senator Shaheen in the area of veterans, right? And I realized that, her veteran record isn't all bad, but it's not all that good either. And certainly the promises that she made about a full, a full-time medical center and these other things, have not come true. And there's plenty of veterans out there that have been dissatisfied, particularly after, contacting our office. So my own experiences with constituent support, and when I measure that against the support that I got from Senator Hassan's office, there's a huge difference there between the two, right? Where Senator Hassan is approachable, she contacts me, I work with her very well. We created legislation that's on the Senate floor to help our veterans, and I didn't get that kind of assistance from Jeanne Shaheen, right? And it seemed like everywhere I went, it just wasn't veterans that were complaining about it. Mental health, the opioid crisis,
Those
people who
are some of
have
the
bad
very
water,
significant,
right?
yes.
And they're hugely significant. They're national problems. And then just the whole, progressive Democrat agenda that people weren't happy with. And so I said, you know what? There's some valid reasons here to challenge this two-term senator. I give her credit for her time and public service. I congratulate her for that. I thank her for that. And I think that she's been an excellent role model for women, right? Set that aside and look at her performance as a senator, particularly the last 6 years for New Hampshire. And she didn't earn her third term, right? And I think it's time for a change. And I think
You've already built up support with the other senator up there.
Right, yes. And so, my background, special forces, special operations, we have to go into areas
There you go.
and work with people
Yeah.
from all different kind of cultures that we don't know, that don't even speak the same language that we speak. And so I know how to build coalitions. One of my commands as a general officer in Afghanistan was I had 42 coalition countries
Really?
that I had to bring together to accomplish a mission, right? That's a lot of people. That's a lot of different views about the world and about what we should be doing and how we should be doing. And then some of them, we call them caveats, right? Some of them could do this, others couldn't do that. So you had to be able to balance it, right? So, and that's what you do down there. That's what you do in Washington, D.C., right? You got to get in there, check your ego at the door, work with people. It's about teamwork. People call it bipartisan. They call it reaching across the aisle. I call it teamwork. And the team are the people in New Hampshire and the people in America. That's the team that we're supposed to be supporting. And I believe it's not being supported the way it should be. And we need to do something about that. And that's the main reason I'm running.
Yeah, well, with your career, I think it's given you enough battle scars that you've learned a lot on how to be a proper leader.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. The breadth and depth of my experience in going from private to sergeant to lieutenant to general is something I'm proud of. Not because I'm boasting about it. I am very humble about that. But it's the American dream. I went from the bottom of an organization,
That's right, yeah.
based off of my, what I learned in New Hampshire, my values, my ethics. And I took those with me and I went into the world and I stayed focused and I worked hard and I never quit. And that comes with certain rewards. And I learned that here in New Hampshire. And if I can give back to New Hampshire for what they gave me, I'm willing to do that. And I want to do that. And it's about serving people. My platform has three basic constructs to it. People, family, and mission. People are our most important asset. Family is the cornerstone of our community. Our communities are the cornerstone of our country. And the mission, servant leadership, holding yourself accountable to people, being responsible for all the actions that happen, being willing to admit that you'll make a mistake, that you don't know everything, and that you need people's help to be successful. You can't be successful down there in Washington, D.C. without people's help, right? And the help is 1.3 million people back here.
That's right.
And we need to leverage that. And I just don't see that happening. It seems as if, boom, they go down to Washington, D.C., and they're on their own agenda. and they're looking to get reelected, and they're going to do the establishment things that they need to do in order to stay good with the establishment so they can get a lot of money, build a political machine, and operate at the expense of the very people they're supposed to serve. And that's wrong.
Right.
That's not how I learned to operate. I think you can be just as successful operating in a different way. And I tell everybody, it's a job interview, right? And I want the honor to be your senator, and I look at it that way. And constituent support is at the top. Protecting the Constitution, our economy, and being fiscally responsible and balancing the spending that's leading to an atrocious debt and deficit that over time, regardless of how good our economy is, they're going to meet in the middle, and it's going to break us. And we have to get people down there that understand that and that are willing to make the hard choices to benefit the people, to benefit New Hampshire, and to benefit America. And then national security and national defense. Some of the biggest oversights that we have are grid security, right? Our grid is so vulnerable. We need to start looking at how we're going to protect that, and we need to protect it. Our infrastructure is vulnerable. It's getting older and older and older, and I believe the federal government has a responsibility to support the states in that endeavor. President Eisenhower thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows how important. And our infrastructure that we put in place is the very infrastructure that other countries want to emulate. We have to protect our cyber. We have to protect our communications. We have to protect our IT. These are all huge things. And we have to build a strong military, right? President Trump has been doing that. But our strategic Navy, our strategic Air Force, and our strategic nuclear forces have some real deficiencies that endanger America's safety and security. And we got to get on that. Open borders, illegal immigration. You can't have those things, right? We can still be compassionate. We can still extend humanity, but we have to have an immigration program that is safe for America and safe for people that want to come into America and do the right thing, and that is assimilate to our culture, our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, not these parallel establish these parallel cultures in these hubs that work that
almost
work
like many countries.
Yeah, and that's not America.
Yeah.
America's a melting pot, yes, but a melting pot designed around specific ideas and values and rights that are embodied in our Declaration of Independence, and then put together in a beautiful document that has not been ever replicated again to establish a republic. We have democratic principles that we follow, but we are a republic, and that's what people are missing. And our founding fathers did that intentionally. Democracies are so fragile and so hard. They always fail, but the republic has not, and it can get stronger as long as we stick to the ideas in in those documents. And we're getting further and further away from that. And we can see it with the control that's being pulled up by Washington and the growth of the government. We're no longer a limited government. We're an unlimited government, and we're growing exponentially every time Congress passes a law or every time they pass a budget, if they can get around to passing the budget, right?
They haven't done that lately.
Their number one responsibility, right? And a budget that doesn't increase our deficit spending and add to the debt exponentially. It's just irresponsible. And those platform ideas nested with people, family, mission, and then when you take President Trump's Keep America Great, my overarching concept is strengthening the republic. Strengthening the republic, because that's what needs to be done. There are no rights in our Declaration of Independence that give you the right to free anything, except for your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And so this, you have a right to a free education. You have a right to free health care. No, you don't. Those aren't your rights, right?
Oh, right.
Our government will help people that need help, but that can't be a forever thing either. You have to have determination, self-reliance, initiative, and that don't tread on me attitude that made this nation and keeps it great. And I think my view as a senator going down there with these ideas of strengthen the republic and my New Hampshire compact of constituent support, strong economy, fiscal responsibility, national defense, and national security are nest very well with what President Trump wants to do in his policies to keep America great, to put America first, but I want to do it with an eye on New Hampshire first, right? Recognizing my responsibilities as a senator to America, but we've had this senator, Jeanne Shaheen, who hasn't spent any time here really, and any focus on New Hampshire. And we got to start focusing on New Hampshire because we have some serious problems in our community that are not being addressed effectively. Oh, sure. Has she thrown money at it? Yeah, she's thrown money at it, but it hasn't solved any problems, right?
That's
and
right.
we need comprehensive plans that are focused on solving problems. For instance, the opioid crisis. It's a terrible crisis. It's gotten worse, right? It's gotten worse under her watch. It started when she became governor. She was at the scene of the crime when all the Oxycontin came in here, and she left in 2002 and 3, and she did nothing about it. And she comes back into politics in 2007 and is still passing out tickets. Fentanyl becomes a serial killer in our country and in our state. Not till 2012 did they start noticing it because people started dying in large numbers. And yet, the program that they put together, that they've thrown money at, hasn't got the problem any better. They're throwing it at intervention. Well, what about prevention? What about treatment? What about support services?
Some of that was
This was taught to me by Jeffrey Stewart, right?
Yeah.
He taught me this whole thing. You know, I go out, I talk to people, I listen, right? Prevention, intervention, treatment, and support services. You
It's all
can't just
together.
throw money at
Right.
intervention, and that's what we're doing. We're throwing money at this program called harm reduction, which isn't bad. It's probably needed at, inside a larger comprehensive plan, but it's basically taking the addict off of heroin and fentanyl and putting them on methadone, right? And then supporting needle and syringe exchanges and supporting free parks for them to go into and be able to shoot up. Well, that's not going to cause prevention. That's not going to do anything for prevention. It's certainly not going to help treatment. And the support services, recovery centers that we need and other services that we need to support that infrastructure is non-existent. That's just one. The same thing with mental health.
Definitely.
The same thing with polluted water here in this state. And our water systems in many of our towns are too old, right? And that infrastructure needs to be updated. And when we look at the ideas of open borders and illegal immigration and putting illegal immigrants in front of Americans and in front of our families, that's a no-go. We can't do that. We can't survive that way. We shouldn't be giving them free stuff. We have to earn our way, and that's the American way. So,
You have to have a little bit of cash in there. People who get everything free, they don't appreciate it as much.
And we want hand-up programs, not handout programs. And we don't want people to be on welfare for the rest of their lives and have generational welfare. There's no reason for that. And so we have to review these programs and look at it and put key things in place, job programs and stuff that bounce them out of this troubled time, right? That should be, a government that's taking care of itself, that has a good economy and good fiscal responsibility, everybody can have a job. If you elect not to have a job, that doesn't mean that we provide you everything for free.
Right.
Right? We got to draw a line here, right? If we don't, then we're going to create the problem that we have today. I had an interesting drill with my students in my leadership course, and I said, let's talk about your generation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why your generation is perceived. Now, it's not perceived by me because I've led your generation in combat. I know what you guys can do. I've seen how you perform in the military. I know what you can do. I don't share that same opinion, but there are many, many, many people out there that believe your generation is lazy and they don't trust you and you're not going to work hard and you want everything for free. And I had millennials to Generation Z in my class, and they said, guilty as charged. But then they said, but you created us. You made us this way. Everything that I want to do is either taxed, regulated, or illegal. I can't get a job at 14 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I could get a job at 14 years old. I worked as a groundskeeper, right? I worked in my uncle's shop in Piches when I wasn't working on our family farm, right? I was able to get a job, but they say, hey, everywhere we go, we're told no. And everything gets handed to us.
Yeah.
And so we sit back and we get and we're lazy. I mean, this is coming directly from these folks. Now, I believe in the younger generation. But they know that the problem has been caused by somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're the unfortunate, kind of victims of this, and they want that to change, right? And we have to change that. And as long as we have people in Washington, D.C. that believe that they're benevolent, benefactors to us, and they want us to feel weak and dependent and
so that they have the power to control
and faint of heart. Yes, absolutely, sir. They have the power. We have to go to them.
Right.
Oh, help us. And Thomas Jefferson warned us of this. A government that is big enough to give you everything is big enough to take everything away from you. And we have to be cognizant of that, right? And these kids see it, and it's something that we talk about. And I just want to make sure that anyone listening to this knows that I have the utmost respect for our younger generation. I don't call them millennials and Zs. I call them the younger generation, right? And they prefer that, by the way. They don't like the label that they're given, and they're trying to break out of that label. And we got to change things so that we give them that opportunity to break out of that mold, right? And to do the things that they need to do. And we have to change our education system.
That is a big problem.
That's a huge problem. And there's been no change to it. It's gotten worse. It serves the administrators more than it does the teachers and the students. And the whole testing system and how we're developing a student, they're largely unprepared for college, and they will tell you that, right? And they don't have enough opportunity in high school. I talk to high schoolers all the time. Oh, if you don't want to go to college, then you're a second-class citizen. And you're pushed off to the side. And what does that hurt? Well, that hurts their self-esteem. It certainly doesn't build resiliency, and it makes them feel, like they're not appreciated. And you get a certain product from that, right? And so college isn't for everybody. So we need a trade school, right? And we need tech school opportunities inside our high schools, so that we can give students, our high school students, more opportunities. And we need to make sure that, because that's what contributes to society.
We need to understand what the kids want and need, and be able to allow them to try out things,
right,
until they really find their home.
And we got to let our teachers teach, right. And we got to get curriculum in there that is actually going to prepare them for life. And they need to learn U.S. history, and they need to learn about our government, and they need to learn all these things that colleges are teaching, because that's what they tell me, right? Why do we have Why does it take 4 years to get a bachelor's degree? Well, we have to teach them all this stuff that they didn't learn in high school. And I said, well, that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
Change that system.
Yeah.
They learn it. They come in. And then you can have a 2-year bachelor program. And then another 2 years for a master's. You still have a 4-year school, but you're getting them out half as fast into the work environment. They're working on what they want to study faster, and it's half the cost. Right off the top, half the cost. And then get the government the heck out of education.
That's right.
Get rid of the Department of Education, and let's take the administrative piece and shrink that and empower our teachers. And one thing that I'm in favor of that, you know, I'm going to say here, probably a lot of people would take exception to, but hey, listen, it's time to go to school year-round with a break.
A lot of countries do that.
And they do it, and they do it, and I saw it over there in Europe. It is a great system, and the kids still get their break, right? And they still get everything, but they're continuously focused and engaged in doing something, right? And I don't know, it's something to think about, but we got to start thinking outside the box, or not even outside the box, right? These are common sense things that just need to be done, that have been overcome by an agenda that is not preparing our kids for life. And then we wonder why we have this product that we're not happy with.
How they haven't realized that earlier.
Right.
I mean, it's so obvious that people are not ready for college.
Exactly. And then we need national service programs that people can volunteer for outside of the military.
Sure.
So they can go work and help other people and learn about compassion and empathy and sympathy, and then have something in their resume that says, you know, look at this is selfless service, right? I did this. I went to Appalachia and I helped people help
build their
themselves.
Self-esteem. That's
yes, you build up their self-esteem, and then we have a strong country.
Right. Well, General,
you know,
we've run out of time.
We have. That went fast. I wish we had another 27 minutes. Reset the clock.
We'll have to do it again.
You are awesome, and I really appreciate this opportunity. I want to thank you very, very much.
Well, I thank you for coming, because we try to get people who want to do something and change what's happening to this country. And I think you're one of them. But
well, thank you, sir, very much.
You got a good competition out there too.
We do. We do.
So whoever wins, I think we win in the end, as long as it's this side.
Right. Well, God bless you, and thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.